Howdy, howdy, everybody.
Good afternoon, everybody.
This is a little bit of a put-on episode, but it will be available for your purview for days and days and days. We're on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel.
That's right.
So Google Keeping It Real Estate. Hopefully,
Maybe.
That's all you find.
Not. Like a Cracker Jack box. You never know what you're going to find.
Waiting. There we go. We got some eyeballs. So,
awfully quiet.
say hi if you're out there, world.
Yeah, say hello. Come on, give us something.
Let us know you can hear us, at least. There's Angie.
Angie's on.
All right, can you hear us? Everything good?
Can you hear us now?
Angie.
We got some people.
Angie, Shannon, somebody say hello.
Mike.
Just let us know you can hear us.
Wait for the first comment out of Mike's
Hi,
mouth.
there we go. Okay. Well, if you notice, our friend here, other than taking good care of himself, looks a little lighter because he moved into Casa de McConville yesterday. So,
Finally.
So we got a peanut gallery here today. Mr. Mino is here with us. So. Anyway, so we want to give a big shout out to Dana on that, and we actually were going to try to do it this week. We're going to do an on-site. So,
And actually, you know what? We got the cable hooked up yesterday, so we should be good to go. On
yeah,
that.
but we didn't want to chance it without having a little trial run. But we'll give you a tour around Casa de McConville. But it turned out fantastic. I'm sure he had lofty expectations, but we were very pleasantly surprised. I was very pleasantly surprised with all his hard work. And that bathroom is spectacular.
It should be.
It should be.
As long as it's shut your mouth.
That's right. Okay, so our topic today is foreclosures, and I suspect it could be like the short sale topic a little bit, where it gets a little broad, but we're going to try to cover it from both sides. I'll start off I want to recap a little bit of the similarities between short sales and the foreclosures. Has an impact on your credit. If you're a seller, they're very similar because you're obviously not making the mortgage payment for a long time, and they record differently. One is as a short sale and one is as a foreclosure on your credit history. But either one requires a fair amount. Usually, 3 years?
Yeah.
So about 3 years before you can buy another house. And of course, you're going to have the damage of not having made that mortgage payment for all that time. So the big difference, and this is where if you're a buyer, I prefer foreclosure. Actually, let me circle around here again. The big difference from a seller's perspective at the end of a short sale or foreclosure is a short sale. If you did the short sale properly and you had an attorney negotiating for you, there's an end. You know that when you go to settlement, it's over. They're not going to come back to you. They're not going to come after you for anything else. And unfortunately, with a foreclosure, if you stick your head in sand, let the house go to foreclosure, you have the specter of the bank either coming after you personally or selling your information off or selling your loan, your debt to a third-party collector, and they could come after you.
Which will be relentless.
Yes.
Phone calls, nasty rams, the whole 9 yards.
Does it happen a lot? I don't think so. I don't know of a whole lot of people that has, but the specter's out there, and if you have that kind of luck, right when your life starts getting back together 2 or 3 years later, things are going your way, and you think, man, so glad that's behind me, and then you get that phone call, and so that's no fun. So purchasing, and no one is better to speak on this than our very own Mr. McConville, because this is contemporary. I can say that, right? Your house?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the new Casa de McConville was a foreclosure. So there's lots of nuances to that. First of all, you want to talk about the process of buying the house in the first place?
This one was a little bit different because this was an online auction. Basically, it's still foreclosure. The bank is still the seller. Still buying it from the bank, but it's just a little bit different process as far as the paperwork goes. But all in all, it's still fairly simple. There's different fees involved with doing it from an auction standpoint. But
and are we seeing that more often, Dana? The auctions?
Yeah, they've seemed to become a little bit more common. I think the bank just throws it in somebody else's hands, and I guess from their point of view, it draws a little bit more attention everybody, when there's competition on the line, the price starts to go up. And actually, to be honest with you, it's exactly how we got our house. Like literally the last bid, like we were done. We weren't going to go any higher. And we had started this whole process, okay, so let me circle around. Like when you buy a regular foreclosure, you go to your agent, you write up the contract, you send it into the bank. They either accept it or they counteroffer or they don't accept it, and you have your answer right then and there. When Mindy and I started this process with our current house, you log on and you bid, and you're literally in a bidding war. It's like buying a house on eBay.
And I happened to be there with Dana the night, and like nobody's on there, and then looked like there's one other guy, but they just went back and forth and
for hours.
Right. Yep. And they would say, okay, it would be the end would be 10 o'clock, and then they would go. You get an email that said, okay, the bidding has been extended for another hour, and then you'd have to wait, and then it'd be the hurry up and wait thing, and it went. And but again, lucky, Dana and the Horseshoe. The last bid they were willing to go to was the bid that got it, and it turned out really well. What I think a big reason behind all these auctions is that the buyer's premium is equivalent to what they pay in a commission.
Yep.
So
that's a lot of money.
Yep. So basically, they can put the house on an auction property and save themselves all that money. But what that means to a buyer, like in Dana's case, Dana had to be really creative about how he bought the house. Because number one, let's talk, like for the most part, the big risk, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, Dana is very handy. Dana flipped houses, and there's really nothing that would intimidate or scare him. Somebody like myself, the most powerful tool I own is my phone. So, I'm not going to go in and do the work that I'm not capable of doing the work that Dana did. So if you're a first-time home buyer, if you're not interested or capable of taking on a big project, foreclosures can be a real risk because you have somebody that probably for years neglected the property, didn't maintain it, didn't do the necessary maintenance, and then the banks are not going to fix a thing. So you're going to get the house as is, where is. A lot of times power has been out, so you end up with water damage from some pump not running. It can be a Pandora's box. And one of our mantras all the time is, when you do an inspection and you see things, especially if the house was neglected, you're going to find 10 other things that just don't come up in an inspection.
Yeah.
And of course, being a bank property, there's no disclosure law. So the banks they're not going to know, but even if they did, they're not obligated to tell you. So basically, it's a buyer beware situation. So
that's it. That's right. And you have to get creative with financing. It's not as, because the house in the condition that it was in, although, people had been living there and then they moved out and it was vacant for a while, but the condition it was in, I would have never got a regular conventional loan on that property, because no other bank is going to want to lend money on this property that needs all this work, because there's no guarantee that you're, number one, capable, and number two, have the resources to make it happen.
So what are some creative ways to finance a transaction like this?
Hard money lender.
Okay.
So hard money lenders are a little bit more expensive.
Hold on. What is a hard money lender?
Hard money lender is somebody who's willing to actually put that money on the street and let you borrow the money from them. So to purchase the home. So it would be an investor,
like a private individual says, "Hey, look, I got money that I don't care what your credit is. I don't care what your scenarios. If there's enough equity in the property and
if there's enough upside and there's enough, because you probably explain it just as well as I can. As long as there's enough upside for them, they can go in. And if you fail out and you can't get the house done, they can come right behind you and fix the house up, and they're going to get their money back, and they'll sell the house and they'll make money on it. Usually those people are very familiar with flipping houses and know how to do the job just like you might know how to do the job. Okay, so that's another thing that's a little outside of the box. And having worked with investors for a long time, we've got a repertoire of those people. So, we have those people available to us. But that's something, if you have extra questions about it, there are definitely some nuances to it. So feel free to message us so we can talk to you about that. What's another way? For what? For financing a transaction like this? Have great in-laws. 203K. 203K loan. Yeah. So, which are a little bit more trouble. Go ahead. No, it's a FHA program, and there's actually a conventional program that mirrors it. But essentially what it does is it allows you to buy a property that needs repair
and you can finance the purchase price plus the money that you need to repair. So, and then in FHA, the total value has to equate to 96.5% of the appraised value, the after repair value. So example of that would be a $200,000 house, a purchase price that you're going to put $50,000 into, and then it has to be worth, say, $275,000. And it wouldn't even have to be that much, but that's an easy way to think about it. So, but if it needs $50,000 worth of work and you don't have $50,000, it's a great program where you can basically finance the money to construct and do the work. The drawbacks to doing a 203K as opposed to hard money, number one is a lot of times a hard money lender, depending on how much room is in the deal, they won't lend beyond the sales price. You're going to have to come up with the repair money yourself. But if they do, if you are able to get all that money, the great thing about hard money loans is for the most part, they stay out of your hair, go do your thing, and then sell the house, refinance it, whatever you're going to do at the end of the term. With an FHA loan, the money is available to you, and it's very reasonable, much lower rates than what you would get from a hard money lender. But you have regulations, of course. So, and you have to get a contractor to go out once you get the house under contract and write an estimate for the repairs. And then an appraiser who is skilled in 203Ks will look at it and say, okay, with this much, we feel like these repairs are reasonable, and with these repairs, the property is going to be worth that. So then when you go to closing, they usually have 3 draws set up. So then you have to find contractors who are willing to work within that schedule, which, you know, is not always the easiest thing in the world to do. So bottom line, again, there's a lot of nuances in how you write a contract with the 203K. They take longer. And frankly, especially in a foreclosure, if you're in a competing situation, there's going to be somebody
we would have never got
right
with a 203K. We've never got that. And as a hard money lender, you're stronger because basically they're paying cash for the house.
I see Nina just asked us a question about VA loans with bank-owned properties, and it's almost, you'd have to find a unicorn, essentially. You'd have to find a VA property that was in pretty much move-in condition, because as we've talked about before, if you're a frequent watcher of our shows, FHA and VA have minimum safety requirements for houses. And while they may not be terribly onerous in a normal sale, they're a little tough with a foreclosure because, you know, again, Dana's favorite, chipping and peeling paint.
That's right.
Appliances have to be there. Yeah. You can't have mold in the basement. The roof has to be in good shape. The windows have to work.
It has to be in livable condition.
Right. So
which then almost kind of could possibly limit the upside of that investment.
Right. And so with any loan, and right now, thanks to our, if you've driven in a car in the last 2 years, you've heard some commercial for how easy it is to flip houses and make money and do it with everybody else's money and the whole thing. Well, we're here to tell you that it's not reality, but it gets everybody and their brother to empty their 401ks and become real estate investors, and they do one house and it goes south. But what it has done really is it's cluttered the market. So you get a lot of competition, and the people that are in it to make, you have to make a living, you have to make some money, and you have to have room because things don't always go well
and
the way you plan.
Always be something there that you didn't plan on that shows up.
And you get two sides from that perspective. If you're flipping houses, you got you're going to end up with a repair you didn't predict, and then the other side of it is, you know, our investors, and I know when Dave was flipping houses, you're super aggressive on the price. You know, you're always pushing the neighborhood, and if you miscalculate even a little bit, and you got to come down $10,000, that might be 50% of your profit. So,
right.
So, but the net for our like today, we're kind of talking about, that'll be another show as investors, but today we're talking about retail buyers. So what you have, you're competing with all of those investors. And those investors come in either with cash or what they represent as cash, which is the hard money, which basically to a bank operates the same way. You're not having a financing contingency. So for you to come in with a government loan, with the slow time to turn it over and all of the red tape that goes with getting a government loan, you're going to have a really hard time if you're in a competing situation. The saving grace there could be that if the house was one of those unicorns that's in pretty good shape and the bank is looking for pretty close to retail money, then you got a little bit more of a puncher's chance with that. So, but as Dana is wont to tell you, I mean, he is very knowledgeable and knows what he's looking for. And I think you found more than your fair share of surprises in the new house, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Plumbing being one of them.
Yeah. Well,
but it worked out. But it's fine. I mean, you go into it with an open mind going into it. You know there's going to be things. You just don't know what they are. But as long as you're, capable and knowledgeable and you can deal with them, it's not that big a deal. You just,
So
my father-in-law told me, George Chaporis, my father-in-law told me when I did my very first flip, and it was a disastrous house. I really was like, WTF, what did I get myself into? How are we going to fix this house? And my dad was an auto mechanic. It's built by man. It can all be fixed. There's nothing that can't be fixed. So short of a very bad cracked foundation or something like that, it can all be fixed. You just have to know how to fix it. That's all. So, or know somebody who knows how to fix it.
So our takeaway, like we get calls, everybody wants a deal. We get that. We get people all the time. I want to do foreclosures and short sales because I want to get a deal. And so my MO, and Dana, I think probably the same way, a lot of times I'll take you out and I'll show you those, but I know that that's a waste of day because when you circle around and you realize how much work the house is going to be, and really, like, if you see a house that's been on the market like that for 30, 60 days, then the investors have already said, there's nothing here. There's nothing to have here. So then, so can it be done? Yes. And 1,000%. And again, this is absolutely our mantra on this little broadcast here is hire a professional, hire a real estate agent that knows what they're talking about, and don't get suckered into the fact that you're not paying for a buyer's agent. Because in these types of transactions, having a smart, knowledgeable agent who knows what you're talking about and understands the nuances of the financing, of the bank's position, of how to we're already over time, but there's a whole other thing. The banks insert their own language in the contract, so there's a million landmines. So happy to have a conversation with you. Find a knowledgeable real estate agent and make sure you ask hard questions. If you really say, look, I'm willing to be patient and I want to do foreclosure short sale, ask hard questions and make sure that agent you're talking to has real answers for you.
Well, to circle back around to Jim's point, I've been doing this for a long, long time, and we've done the flips and all that kind of stuff. And when we just bought this house and I got the contract and looked it over, I had Jim look at it, and I had another agent who's been in the business a long time look at it, just because I wanted a second and third set of eyes on there because of all the bank language that they put in there.
Yeah, and the reality is that there's just a bunch of landmines, and there's nothing that you can negotiate. It's like we always say when you go to settlement, and there's all those pages, and you can read them all you want, but there's not one word in that 50 pages you're going to sign that's negotiable.
That's right.
So, and the bank contracts are the same way. So, anyway, that's it for today. Sorry for the change in time. We'll get back to our routine now that Dana's moved in and situated, and we'll do a remote here soon. And hope everybody has a great night. We're going to repost this at 9 o'clock. In case you missed it, but it's here, and then of course it'll be on YouTube and available anywhere you need it. So hope you have a great week, and don't hesitate to call or text, email us if you have any questions. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful night.